Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So when it comes to emails, um, now most of us, when when we think of emails, we think of it as a replacement for letters. Um, but it's not exactly so, because right at the beginning, around say in 1971, when Tomlinson sent the first email. Now that was, see, they had emails that they could leave, messages that they could leave in a single system. But then he kind of thought about, why not leave messages for a person, and instead of just leaving it in the system to be viewed by whoever comes and uses the same system. So he sent messages between two computers that were connected in the same ARPANET system. So right from say 1971, and then apparently he doesn't really remember what the message he first sent. I think he just sent QWERT, the first few letters on your keyboard. So he just sent that, but then that's how it started, 1971. But then after that, uh, say we've had emails from space. We have astronauts who sent mail saying hello earthlings, and then we've had different clients, right from I'm not sure if you've used Hotmail and Rocket Mail, and then from there we went to Yahoo Mail, and then with 2004 when Google walked in, and you have Gmail right now. Things changed so much that the use of emails, the number that's sent has skyrocketed. In fact, there's a statistics report. They're looking at about 333 billion emails to be sent and received in just this 1 year. So, and with every year, the number is just going to rise, right? So, with all of this, with the kind of use that we have, be it, for work purposes or for personal purposes, for marketing, for campaigning. In fact, we have Obama's marketing strategy, especially his campaigning strategy, that worked really well, especially with emails, because his subject was just hey, and people wanted to read that. What was the hey all about? Right? So, from that to using it on everyday basis, emails have made their mark. So much so that we don't really have clear cut rules as to what we need to follow. So, when it comes to letters, I'm pretty sure through the years of our education, our schooling in college life, we've been told to follow a certain format, and it's changed, it has evolved. But then when it comes to emails, we're not really taught that. So, which is why I thought maybe we should go into it, right? So, um, if you're using two devices or even a single device, it'll be great if you can go into this website. I'm pretty sure some of you may also already be familiar with this, menti.com, and enter this code. So my slides will also be visible on your phones. You can see it there. And I've got a few questions and then a quiz at the end and a few interactive slides for you to play with. So it'll be great if all of you can get into this page as quickly as possible. Just give you a second for that. You just need to go to menti.com. Then you will have a space for you to enter the code. Please enter the code. Alternatively, you can also scan this QR code in case if you're using your phones as well. All right, so I'm going to move to the next slide. The joining instructions will be available on the top of my presentation as well. All right, so I have very first question I have for you. How do you feel about emails? Do you like them? Do you not like them? If not, why? If you could just answer that in, say, about a word. If you can describe it, whatever you feel, if you're frustrated, if you only think about, it's not all that great. Anything, whatever you feel about emails. If you feel it saves your time, probably saves a lot of money. Good 8 responses so far. The others as well. In case if you've missed it, menti.com and the code 58386656. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think some more responses and then we proceed. Can I have more responses, please? Just be a word, need not even be a phrase. Just quickly. The joining code is 58386656. Someone I think is asked in the chat box. Thank you. Okay, I think we can proceed. All right, so few of your entries. Good way to communicate, easy to use, it's fast, it's efficient, it saves a lot of time, saves a lot of money, quick and convenient, helpful. Business communication helps, of course, it does. And a secured way to communicate. Nice. And then I've got a few entries in the chat box here as well. They're great when they're personal and they're not a spam. Absolutely. It's borderless. True. You don't really have to be restricted by where you stay. You can send it anytime you want, and it's quick, right? More than anything, I think it's quick. So, all right, I think we have a good idea about emails, and I don't think any of you are actually frustrated with emails. To sort of sum up what you've just said, you can use it when you need quick answers, right? So it's easy, it's fast, it's quick. With just a send button, you can send it to anyone and anybody, wherever, no matter where they are. And it's simple because there's not much of complicated procedures involved, right? You don't really have to go to the post office or the post box and then get a stamp to stick on it, and then nothing of that sort. No, it's sort of saves you all the trouble. It's hassle-free. Thank you for this. I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay, so basically, especially if you're going to be using your emails we're going to go a little away from personal uses. We're going to be specifically looking at business uses, right? Work related. So irrespective of whatever work you do, you may be part of a corporate institution, you may be part of an academic institution, you may be a small business owner, anything of that sort, right? So no matter, even if it's work related, you can still play along with these two tones of writing. You can be formal and you can also be informal, and that depends largely on who you're writing to. So do you know this person who you're writing to? Are you familiar with that person? Have you had previous contacts with them? In that case, you can resort to a more of an informal style than a formal one. But for most business correspondences, and if you're doing it for the first time, it's good if you stick to a formal one. But at the same time, how are we defining this formal? Now, we're not looking at the kind of language that was used, say, probably by our parents or your grandparents or whatever for that matter, right? So we're looking at a language which is more conversational in tone. So when we're going away from these long winding sentences, these extremely complicated phrasings, nothing of that sort. It's pretty much how you would talk to someone on the phone, but at the same time to keep it as business-like as possible. So even again, when I spoke to a few of my friends and colleagues, students as well who are working now, the first thing that they said about when I asked them about, okay, now what about emails? What do you like about them? They said, the fact that we use complicated language and it saves a lot of time that way. And most of them went for they liked emails that were very crisp, right? Very short in that sense as well. But at the same time, few of them were a little doubtful about, okay, if I'm going to be short and if my sentences are very, very short, if it's just going to give an idea, would I sound rude? Would I sound impolite? The thing is, no. You can still be a little tactful and you can come off as polite as possible. That's again to go with the choice of words you go with, right? Use is specifically, again, inquiries. So in case if you need to ask your client or your anybody else that you're corresponding with, again, if you have very specific questions that you need to ask, again, emails. If you want them to do a specific thing, react to something that you've asked, your request, you can ask them for any specific. So if you're asking for a document, you can use an email and request for that particular document. And then especially for exchanging information, this is again, big, huge use of the emails. Send and receive any kinds of information, no matter where you are and what exactly you're doing, right? And then making or confirming arrangements. Again, if you have, say, a webinar such as this, emails are the best way to communicate and ask them, okay, is this where you want to go? Is this what you want to do? All right. Now, the one big important thing that you need to look at is, as much as we're for emails, we're looking at emails and looking at how great it is, we also need to remember if you really need this form of communication for the specific correspondence that you want to take over, as in, a few things can just easily happen over a call, but a chain of mails will actually become too tedious after a point in time. So make sure if emails is what you need to go for, or would just a text message do, or would a call do? And then decide whether you'd want to stick with an email or not. All right. So remember that as well. Remember, for your purpose, for whatever purpose that you're sending an email to, would a phone call or a message, a personal message, be better off, a better option? Or would this be a better option? Would an email be a better option? All right. Another question for you. Roughly, okay, on an average, how many work-related emails do you send and receive in a day? Can be approximate, not really have to think about, okay, or count your fingers off, just roughly. $22.45. Wow. Almost 100, says someone in the chat box. Okay. $10, $15. Okay. Emails sent is somewhere 18, 20. Emails received 27, 50 to 100. Wow. Okay, we have another person saying 50, 40, 10 to 20, per day 20 maximum. Wow, okay. 50 to 80, 50, 40. All right, so by the looks of it, we've got, say, an average of 17 emails that you send every day. And you receive about, say, 27 to 30. Nice. All right, so I was curious as well. So I wanted to check global statistics. All right, and guess what? An average office worker sends about 40 mails a day. Okay. And you know how much he receives, he or she? 121. Now, the thing is, these numbers are actually from the year 2019. And we know what happened at the end of 2019 and 2020, 2021. When we all went online, we all worked from home. So academics, business, everything went online, right? So I'm pretty sure this number is probably doubled or even tripled now, which brings us to one main important point. So if you're sending 40 mails and if you're receiving 121 mails a day, The one thing that you need to be very clear when you are writing an email is you need to keep your mail as short as possible and as simple as possible. Because if someone's going to keep reading about 40 mails a day, they do not have the time to read long mails, especially if your phrasing is going to be convoluted, if you're going to have long sentences. Nobody has the time, right? And at the same time, if you can get to your point as clearly as possible and as quickly as possible, trust me, you would be appreciated by a lot of them. Again, from the survey I had with my friends and colleagues, the one thing that they all agreed on was we need short mails, short and crisp as possible. Let it not be long ones. Right? Now, how do you go about writing these mails? I think that's what we need to focus on right here. Okay. 3 things. We're going to look at the first one first. All right. Now, the first one that I'd like to focus on is try to use the active voice as much as possible. All right. So when you're looking at active voice, say your sentence is something like this, right? So you're going to say, the committee took an action as a result, or something like, the minute taker handed the notes to the director, right? Active voice. The moment you change it into a passive, as in the moment you add a by there, okay, and then you say action was taken by the committee as a result. Sounds nice, but the thing is, it takes away the focus. And most importantly, the more you use a passive voice, you automatically put a distance between you and your recipient. I have a few more examples for you. So look at this passive line. The cause of your complaint has been investigated. You look how problematic that line is. It seems nice. It sounds decent. But the problem is, again, there's a distance. Automatically a distance, right? You sort of sound aloof that way. If the same thing is in the active voice, I have looked into the matter. The moment you put an I there, it becomes personal. So whoever is making that complaint to you, you as a customer care executive, you've actually taken it seriously, you've looked into it, and you're responding. All right. So it shows that you care. It shows that you want to maintain this relationship. You do not want to shun away this person. Right? Another example. Arrangements have been made for a repeat order to be dispatched to you immediately. Again, when anyone's reading this, again, it's too long. May have to read it at least twice to get, okay, now what does this even mean? Right? The same thing in active. I have arranged for a repeat order to be sent to you today. Again, with the I, makes it personal. The moment you have it in an active voice, without the by there, without putting your subject later on in the sentence, but putting the focus right there that, hey, I've arranged for a repeat order and it will reach you right away. Okay. Makes it a lot more focused and it makes a lot more clear and saves a lot of time for you as well as your recipient. The next thing, again, most of us are used to writing exams and we like to meet our word limits, right? So even if it's a simple verb that we use, we tend to make it into a noun. We add extra prepositions so that it sounds a little more fancy, right? But again, when it comes to emails where you need to be short and crisp, it's best if you stick to the verb form and not really make it into a noun. So look at this. So if you have to say, give clarification on this, instead, just say, clarify this. So the moment you change clarification, the noun, into the verb, clarify, it again brings that personal touch into it. It becomes, it sounds a lot more person-to-person interaction here. One more example for you. In recognition of the fact that, instead just say, recognizing that. Instead of making the verb into a noun unnecessarily, stick to the verb. One more. We are involved with negotiations. Instead, we are negotiating. Okay. So the moment you put your verb there, especially with your subject right there for you, makes it a lot more easier to read, communicate, and you get to avoid a lot of confusion because of this, right? Third point, business English, right? Now, again, most of us are used to writing standard English, but we don't really know what exactly people mean by business English. Simply put, try to have different synonyms for the words that you're familiar with. Again, it's not a way to complicate the mails. We are not nominalizing it. We're not making into big phrases. We're just substituting words, right? For it to say, I got a mail, instead just say, I received a mail. So the moment you put that, you sound a little sophisticated, but at the same time, you're very clear. So I've got a few examples for you. I will give you a list of resources towards the end of my presentations. There are a lot more words and substitutes that you can use, but Mentimeter restricts me to just use a 12. So I'm just going to give you 12 to begin with, right? Instead of need, you can say I require. Instead of talk about, you can always say discuss, get in touch, contact. Now, again, these words, again, depends on who you're writing to and the tone you're going to take. Are you going to go the formal way or are you going to go the informal way? Get in touch and talk about is still fine for informal, right? For make sure, you can still use ensure. Ask for, request. Let them know, inform. Tell me why, explain. Talk more, elaborate. Fix the problem, you can say solve. A lot of, instead you can say a number of. Limit, restrict. All right. So the moment you use these words, okay, the moment you substitute these words and use business English here, trust me, your mail will sound a little more sophisticated than what it was in the beginning. Chances are people will take you a lot more seriously after that as well. All right. So look for synonyms that you can replace for the usual phrases or the words that you use. All right. So 3 things that you really need to remember. Go with active voice more than passive. You can use passive in case if you're taking down minutes of the meeting. That's absolutely fine. But in an email, stick to active. Second, avoid going for the noun form of the verb. Go instead directly into the verb itself. Third point, try substituting words that you normally use in a conversation with synonyms in case if you need to sound a little more sophisticated and if you're going for the business English style, right? All right. Now, when it comes to an email, so this is pretty much how when you go into your Gmail client and then if you open, say, Compose, this is pretty much how your pop-up window would look like, right? So you have your to, your CC, your BCC, then you have your subject line, and then you have your greeting, body, sign-off, formatting tool, and final touches. Just want to go a little bit more into each of these. Now, to is the main recipient that you're going to send this email to. Could be a person or could be 2 to 3 people, right? Whoever you are addressing this to, whoever you want a response from, very specifically. You would want them to reply to this email, which is why you put them into to. CC is something is actually carbon copy, right? So if you're making copies of the same, so back in those days when secretaries needed to make multiple copies of the same letter, they'd put a carbon copy between 2 sheets, right? So they would write the main copy and then they would have copies of each draft. And then these copies, each of it would go to different people. So send a copy to, say, the head, send a copy to, say, the chief officer, something like that. So you'd use the carbon copy if you want the same mail to reach a few more people so that they are in the loop of things, that they are aware, okay, now this is what exactly is happening. BCC is blind carbon copy. It's pretty much the same thing. It still gives you the copy, but what it also does, it does 2 things. One, it ensures the privacy of your recipients. So in case if you're sending it to a bunch of your clients and if you don't really want to leak their email IDs off in large numbers, BCC is the best option because the moment you put, say, about 10 email IDs into BCC, each of them, whoever is addressed to, will not be aware of who else is gone. I mean, who else has got this particular email. Okay, so ensures privacy, 1. 2, it's also to say I'm just keeping you in the loop, but you don't really have to get into this particular conversation, right? So these are your three options. Main recipient, CC and BCC, both to do with carbon copies, but BCC ensures a little more privacy for your recipients as well. Now, subject line. Now, you might have received a lot of spam mails, right? And most of them come with big, bold letters, urgent or attention. Might put your name and say, hey, listen to this. Avoid all of that. Chances are people are going to think it's spam and they're not going to read your mail. Instead, stick to what exactly you need to focus on. Again, be smart and be crisp. Few words if possible. The crux of your email, whatever you need to focus on, need to be there, right? The next part of your email is the most important part, right? Is exactly this, whatever you're going to put into this space after your subject line. So you first start off with a greeting or a salute. It can range from say hello or hi, or if you want to be a little more formal, dear would work, right? Or a simple greetings if you don't really want to address anybody. It can be as simple as dear participants, or it can be dear the person's name. This is in terms of, say, you are beginning the first email, you're sending out the first one. But if it's in a chain, if you've been sending this email back and forth, okay, you pretty much literally like how you would text. In that case, you can actually leave out the greeting. Doesn't really matter, right? But again, keep it to dear or say hello or hi. Hello and hi is what most of your corporate companies go with these days. They like to sound a more informal than formal. So that is one good option. Then it comes to your body of the mail. Now, if you look at this particular mail, it's short, right? It's clear cut. And what it also has is it's actually well formatted. If you look at it, you have a hello, you have a space in between, you have a next line, you have a space in between, and then you have a short paragraph of sorts, space, and then another line, space, and then your sign off, right? So, and if you look at it, all of it is of the same font as well. Now that shows a lot about you. The moment you format your mails as clearly as this, if you organize it by giving space in between your main points, especially between your greeting and your body and your final signing off, A, it looks pleasing on the eye, and two, it knows I mean business and this is what I'm looking at. Okay, that I'm very focused on what I really need, right? But then if you're going to change fonts and if you're going to play with fonts, again, something people may not like. And then if you're going to change font size bang in the middle of the mails, again, a big no-no. If you're going to use random colors, again, a no-no. So if you're using a sign-off and if you're going to use a signature towards the end, you're going to give details about who you are, where you work, contact details. Again, keep it to, if you need to go in for color, again, keep it to minimal colors and a font that will flow along with the rest of your mail as well. So that shouldn't be, say, in point number 16 and your text shouldn't be, say, point number 10. Again, may not really look good and again shows whether you care. All right. Now, we're going to be looking a little bit more about the body and everything in a little while, but look at the formatting tools at the end of your mail itself. So you can choose whichever font you want, the size of the font that you want, whether you want to bold them, if you want to italicize them. So if you need to stress an important point, okay, instead of going into caps, so if the moment you go into capitals, it means you're shouting, you're screaming at that person. So don't. Instead, to highlight that point, you can go for, say, highlighting whatever that point is and then clicking on the B there. It'll automatically make it into a bold. Or italicize it or underline it. But don't change font size unnecessarily and don't change colors and definitely do not use caps. All right. Then you also have other formatting tools there. We'll look at it towards the end when I can actually do it a little bit more interactive. And then towards the end, you have your final touches before you hit the send button. I know it looks nice and fancy and bright and blue, but before you send that, in case if you've promised your recipient that you're attaching an email, make sure you make that attachment. Make sure you click on it and then attach and then send, right? And then click on the send. All right. Now, most of the times we would think, okay, if we send the mail, that's it, done. But the thing is, you can cancel your mail. You can unsend your mails if you do it within 30 seconds. I will talk about that towards the end as well. All right. Now, basic structure of the email, we just saw that now. These are just a few more samples for you. So focus on the greeting, the body, and then the sign off. This is all you need to look at. As crisp as possible, as short as possible. Okay. Now, to write your email, you can what Shirley Taylor calls as the 4-point plan. Right? Now we've said, hey, be short, be crisp, use active voice, don't use nouns, use verbs as much as possible. Yes, but how exactly do you go about drafting your mail? Keep this in mind. Your introduction, the first few lines of the mail, should cover the background and the basics of that particular conversation. Have you already had a telephone conversation regarding this? Did you receive a call from them? What exactly are you writing about? What exactly is this entire mail regarding, right? So cover that in your introduction. Second, give other basic details or informations or instructions that you need your recipient to know. So basically, your introduction is like creating a setting, right? And then when you go into your central section, which is your details, you're going to give them information or you're going to ask for information, but all of it, remember, simple and clear. The third point, you are either giving them a response or you're expecting an action, right? In this case, if you can give them when you can expect it or when you want it to, for it to reach you, it's good to work with the timeline. It's good to give them a deadline so that it's easier for both of you and you don't really have to pester each other with, is it ready? Are you going to send it to me? Oh, it's coming. It's on its way. We're trying to figure it out. Instead of that, if you can give your recipient a workable deadline, saves a lot of trouble for both of you. And the last part is your close. Okay, so your close is usually just a one-liner, something like, I look forward to meeting you soon, or I look forward to seeing you at the next month's conference, or please call me if you have any questions, or something as simple as, I would appreciate your prompt reply. Something like that, a very simple one-liner. All right, so opening, remember, it's like setting a scene. So you acknowledge any previous correspondence that you have, or you refer to any meeting or a contact that you have. This is a plain introduction. Central section where you're giving your details, you give all the information or you request information. And then your action or the response, which is pretty much like a conclusion of your mail. Whatever, what you need, okay, or what you would do is exactly what you need to go there. And your close is just one liner before your thanks and regards or your best or warm regards or any of those sign-offs. So another example here for you using your introduction. So if you see there, it's Dear Susie, thank you for inviting me to visit to your studios last week. Most impressed by your new facility. So gives you a setting right there that they are asking for a video to be made. And the fact that she has accepted it, Susie has accepted it. So they are a little thankful for that. Okay. And then is what action is required. I would like a draft. Okay. And I look forward to receiving this before 30th. So you're giving them a deadline so that they can work with. And then finally, a one-liner saying, if you need it, contact me. This is the number. And then you finish off with a sign off in a signature block, your name. If you want a sign off, you can use say best or regards or warm regards or something of that. And then your name, your position, your designation, most important, and then where exactly you work. Which brings us to the next important part. All right, you know how to write an email. You know how to frame it now. You know what kind of a language you're expected to use. You can work on all of that. But what about etiquette? Now, etiquette again is something that most of us would associate with how you are meant to eat your dinner, how you meant to use your spoon and your fork, and how exactly do you start with your salad and how exactly you finish with your dessert. That's pretty much your 17th, 18th century say, Victorian England way of rules of how to behave in a social setting. Now, when it comes to email, we still need to follow basic rules, right? Again, the fact that email started off as an informal medium and nobody really has codified specific rules has made people to realize, no, we actually need. It could be as simple as not sending an email at, say, 5 a.m. in the morning or bang in the middle of the night at 2 p.m., right? Maybe you're working at that time, but does not mean that your recipient needs to receive that email at that point in time. The day for you, you have something called a scheduling an email where you can schedule it, and even if you're working at night, you can schedule it to be delivered the next day, and you can okay, and then chill, right? Even though emails is all about opening an email at the recipient's convenience, right? That's one of the perks when you're talking about emails. But what you are also doing is you're forcing the person to open an email and read. There was an article in The Guardian that spoke about people receiving emails in the midnight, about 30, 40 work emails, because they were working in different parts of the world. But even though you can say, see, this is not my working hours, and you put your phone away or you close your laptop and leave it, there still would be that itch, right? You would want to finish it off. You would want to finish replying to that email. Don't put your recipient in the same fix, right? Send it during working hours. Send it during the time when anyone or everyone would normally work, right? So ideally, say from morning about 8 to, say, evening 6 or 7. That again depends upon your work situation and your scenario, but you would be more aware of when exactly you need to send. Now, this is for everybody. Again, another poll. Okay, so I've got a list of 6 statements for you. Just choose the ones that sort of apply to you. Can we have responses? Again, Mentimeter. It would be really nice if all the participants joined. If you've just joined now, you just need to go to mente.com and use this code, because there's a short quiz at the end of the session. It will be really nice if all of you participated. $10, $11. And they're about 100 almost 200. So quickly, if possible. And as many participants. I'm a little greedy now. Okay, so the 6 statements, in case you're not able to see them, view them for any reason. First one, have you ever wished you could backtrack after sending a mail, but it's too late? As in, you hit the send button and then you realize, okay, maybe I shouldn't have sent that. Second point, have you ever forgotten to add an attachment that you promised in the email? So you say, I have attached this particular document. Please find enclosed my medical certificate in case if you're sending in a leave letter, but then you realize you sent the mail without giving the attachment. So you need to send another one saying, please ignore the previous mail. Have you ever done that? Third one, sent an email when you know a call could have been better, a better and easier solution. Maybe that might have saved you from a string of chain messages. The fourth one is not deleted any mail for a long. I think it explains by itself. The fifth one is sent mails off quickly without a greeting or a sign off. Just the body. Nothing to begin with or nothing to end with. And then the last one, sent emails without proofreading. You just type it. You don't really know what exactly has gone in. You just send it. All right, we've got a few responses. I think we're going to roll with that. So by the looks of it, most of us do not really delete mails for a long, long time. What does this do? Probably you've not looked at all the mails that you need to mail, which also means that you've not exactly organized your inbox. Again, the benefit with most of your emailing clients is that you can organize your emails. Sit for it probably a day and say, figure out what you need, how you need to organize your mails into, say, work mails, project mails, and stuff like that. But trust me, it'll save hours of your time, right? The next top entry is forgotten to add an attachment that you promised in the mail. All of us have done that, haven't we? So again, that if you could do the proofreading and then check, okay, if I've done everything and then hit on that send button, will solve a lot of trouble. And then we've got the proofreading one and then backtracking on the same number, 15 and 15, again helps. Now, all of this is what you look at as business etiquette, I mean, email etiquette. Someone actually beautifully called it as netiquette as well. So right from the time as to when you're expected to send an email to a time when what exactly you send, how exactly you type, right? All of that matters. We're going to go to the next part. Now look at this email, the one with the white background, okay? Pretty much is similar to what you would usually text, your message language. An email is not a message. It's not a text message. So you need to pay attention to your spelling. Use uppercase and lower. So if you look at the hi, Shirley, there, the H needs to be capitalized, right? And then a space would have helped. Hope things are well with you. Again, are not exactly nice, especially if you're going to do business communication, right? And it's good to know that you will be back. So look at how it is. It looks like it's too concise. It looks like it's too brief, and it looks like it's all jammed together in one place, right? And look at that, please let me have some free date. It looks like the person is actually screaming, right? Again, and then the thanks and the regards and the Harry, and then especially the subject as well. It just says hello. So what about it? What exactly is the mail about? Okay. Now this shows that you don't exactly care about what you're doing. Chances are whoever's receiving it will not take you seriously. Look at the one on the other hand, the same email, but then a little bit. So the subject here is very clear. It's about book signing in Malaysia. So hello with a capital H there. I hope things are well with you. And then a space. Now you see how the space sort of makes it easier for people to read. And then I was pleased to hear that you'll be back in Malaysia. A capital M there, which was missed in the previous one. Same thing with November also. So basically you announce capital M, capital N to hold your seminar on whatever it is. And then some bookstores are interested in asking you to do a talk and signing event. I hope you will agree to that part. Please let me have some free dates while you're over here and I will make the arrangements. So clear. It's just 3 points. I hope I got to know that you're going to be coming here. You're going to be doing the seminar. Can we do a session, a signing event, a book signing event? Let me know when you'll be free. See you soon. Hi. So if you actually look at it, the one with the white background, you don't really know where to look at. You don't really know what exactly is going on there. But here, we're just making it into block. It makes things way more clearer for everyone. Right? Now, this is from a beautiful TED Talk that I watched to do with emails. I think you should watch it as well. And Merlin Mann, again, is the person who coined this term inbox zero. So the TED Talk, by the way, is by Victoria Turk. And she uses this quote there as well. So it fits. It beautifully fits. Okay, so it goes like this. Assume that everyone you're communicating with is smarter than you, cares more than you, and is busier than you. All right? Is smarter, cares more, and is busier. So you don't exactly need to think in terms of, okay, they're smart, so let me use a bunch of jargons. Let me use a bunch of complicated words. No, not exactly that. But it means to say that I respect this person. So whoever's getting it, they will be able to understand whatever I'm trying to say. Two, they care more than you. So you need to put in that care in as well. They care whatever that you are talking about. So you don't have to think about, this mail is not exactly important. Every mail is important if you want your work to be done and if you want the other person to take you seriously. The last point, please remember that they are all busier than you. Again, a few examples that I found in the video and then with my colleagues and my friends. The fact that all of them at one point in time got a message from their superiors with just a question mark in their mail to some other, they just forwarded a mail and then the body just had a question mark there. So the person who received it, even though they are this person, the boss is subordinate, what exactly are you supposed to do with that question mark? You don't really know. So apparently one person, you know what the reply they sent? They just sent two question marks back. So the boss had to come over and explain, okay, this is what it is. This is what I want you to do. This is what I require. And at the same time, just sending a single word reply or just a single a short line or a short phrase is not something that you need to send. Just something like just a K or an OK or a, you know how frustrating that is, right? Especially when you're texting. So don't do that, no matter who you're sending it to. Even though if you're sending it to your subordinate, make sure you're not doing that. All right. So basically what you need to remember is if you want the person to take you seriously, which is why you're going into polishing your language and making sure it comes through clearly, you also need to respect them so that you can get what you need, right? Now, sorry, 1 second. All right, so now I have the quiz. Okay, we already have a few participants. It would be great if the others join in as quickly as possible. So you need to do this quickly. There are more points if you answer fast. Okay, so you will get two options. One with the very, long winding sentences and complicated language, and another option which may be more crisp and precise. So pick which one would be the better option. All right, so maybe once we hit 30, we've got 31, 32, 33. Okay. All right, I think we can start right away. All right, so all of this is a part of a single email. I've just broken it down to 5 parts. All right, so starting with the salutation and ending with the sign off. All right, first question as quickly as possible. So the first, you will get 2 images, and after that, you will get, after about 5 seconds, you will get option A or B. Be quick there, right? You can choose option 1 or option 2. Which one would be a better option? 3, 2, 1. Time's out. Oh, the correct answer was option 2. It gives you the order number very clearly. And then it doesn't really say, dear sir, but then it takes care to mention who exactly you're addressing it to, and then moves to the next part of the email, right? All right. So now into the body of the email itself. Second question. Option 1, I'm sorry to hear about the mistake you made. Option 2, we're extremely distressed to learn that an error was made pertaining to your esteemed order. 3, 2, 1. 1, absolutely. I think you could have just gone with the way it was written, and it was short and crisp compared to the other one, which used a lot of nominalizations and passive voice. Third question. Arrangements have been made for repeat order to be dispatched to you immediately, and this should leave our warehouse later today. Contrasted with option 2, I have arranged for a repeat order to be sent to you today. Requirements. Absolutely. I think you've got the hang of it. Next one. Once again, for our humblest apologies for unnecessary inconvenience. And option 2, once again, please accept my apologies and give me a call if you have any questions. 3, 2, and 1. Correct. Next one. And this is the last one. How do you finish? Option 1 or 2. Your sincerely, name, designation, or just a third party Zakaria creep and partners. Correct. Again, more personal you get, better. All right. So you've got the idea. You've got the idea of how emails need to be written. I wish this workshop was a little longer for me to tell you how exactly you need to go about writing. But instead we, sorry. The leaderboard. So Srividya, yay. Thank you. You were the fastest and the quickest. Congratulations. All right. So a few guidelines that you need to remember. You can take a screenshot of this slide if you need to. Respond promptly. Don't leave it hanging there for you. Respect your recipient, whoever you're writing it for, their time as well, their eyes also. Third, crisp subject line. Let it not be hello, hi, hey, urgent, but let it relate to what exactly your mail is all about. A few of your websites have a few acronyms to go with. They say use SMART or use the KISS acronym, which is keep it simple, short and simple. There are a bunch of these guidelines. Okay. Pay attention to your tone. You do not want to come across as being rude or aloof. Active voice will help you with that. Okay. Use short sentences. Don't have long ones. The quiz would have told you how you didn't really have the time. I gave you just 15 seconds for each slides, but you may not have had the patience to read that big, huge block of lines. But the other shorter ones, so that's part about short sentences. Follow a standard format. So again, when you're formatting your mail itself, keep to one font size, font style. If you're going to start off with a salutation, make sure you stick to that one particularly. Shows that you care a lot of it. Check if you've attached your documents in case if you've promised it. And finally, proofread before hitting send. Now, with the new Gmail, with the new add-ons and everything, you have the grammar check as well as an option that you can go into the settings and click on it. So if you have your red underline underlined for each of your words, make sure that you correct the spelling error. If there's a blue line there, then you need to change your words. So proofread, all right, before you send your mails. These are a few references that I used for my presentation. Again, you can take a screenshot. Shirley Taylor's Model Business Letters and Emails has a lot of tips and tricks that you can use while writing your emails, different phrasings that you can use, substitutions that I'm really sorry that I don't really have the time to go into all of that in detail today. The next one, Business Writing Essentials, How to Write Letters, Reports, and Emails, again has a long list of words and substitutes that you can use. The one that I spoke to you about, Business English and General English. So there's a huge list for you there. And then even phrasing, how you start off a mail, right? Or how you go about with a mail. So different ways that you can, different phrases that you can use instead of using the same old, I'm writing to inform you that. There are a bunch of other phrases that she suggests as well. The TED Talk, I think, is about 9 to 10 minutes, if I'm not wrong. It's fun to listen to, maybe just for the sake of that. And then the Right Letter, the book, Janvinolia, again has a lot of tips and tricks for you to follow. All of the 3 books that I've listed here are available online as PDFs, so shouldn't be access. I've got a few links as well. Again, you can take a screenshot if you'd like to. This one, again, has a good idea about how you need to structure your emails, what you need to pay attention to. Email phrases, similar to what the books offer. This one has a more concise list, not exactly a comprehensive one, but gives you a clear idea. If you are interested to polish your writing skills, but if you don't really have the time to sort of, pick up a book and then sit through it, you can also pick up these online courses that's available on, say, Coursera and edX about effective business writing. So you can do it at your pace. So that works. And at the end of it, no matter how many books you read and how many websites you look for, the more you practice, put language skills in use, the better, right? Now, I'd like to finish off with a few hacks that I'd like to share with you to do with Gmail settings. Okay, I'm going to switch tab right now. All right, so this is pretty much how most of your Gmail page is going to look, right? So if you hit the settings button here, I hope you can see my mouse moving. So if you hit the settings button here, you will be given a pop-up on the side, and then you need to click all. Wait, let me just do that for you here. So say this is my inbox. Go into settings, say see all settings here, right? So once you do that, you get this long list. What do you do here? Okay, so however you want to view it, you can go in for all of that. I will leave it up to you to go through this. Most of you may be familiar with it. You may not be. So this is just quick run through of most important features that you need to look at. Now, this is God sent. So in case if you've sent a mail without, say, attachment, and then you realize it right after the moment you hit send, you can still undo your mail. You just need to choose how much ever seconds that you're going to give your buffer period for. So say 30 seconds, and then you can quickly undo your mail. So you would get a pop-up here, and then you can click on that, right? And then are you, okay. All right, this one, reply and reply all. So in case if you are part of, say, the CCC and the CC, the carbon copy, and if you see a lot of people being tagged there, when you reply, do not hit reply all, because everybody is going to get your mail. All right, make sure you reply only to whoever sent you the mail. All right. And then a little font styles here. You have the grammar, spell check, and autocorrect here as well. See if you can go with it. Writing suggestions also are available these days. So in anything that you type out, Google will still prompt you, okay, now this is a better way to put things across. So that is also there. All of this is under the general tab. Okay. You can run through all of this. I'm not going to go into each of this in detail. Auto out of office reply might help you in case if you are, if you're not able to reply to the mail promptly, so that can help. You can include your signature here, as in your sign off, the signature block with your name, designation, your contact details, wherever you work and all of that, that can go into your signatures. If you're planning to use quotes and images, it's a gamble. Some people like it, some people do not like it. So make sure who your audience are and you're the best judge for that. All right. And then I'm going to skip to something called the advanced tab here. Okay. Now the advanced tab here has this that says templates. So if you use a particular email and if you're going to be using that as a template to a lot of people, again, say there are recruiters who would similar template to a bunch of people, right? So you don't have to keep writing it over and over again, and you don't have to keep multiple copies of it in the draft. Instead, you can enable this option here, template, and when you type out a mail, and if you go into these three dots, when you say more options, you get the templates option enabled here, and you can save this. So you can use this template how many ever times that you want. All right. So there are more settings here where you can label your emails. You can sort of declutter your inbox. You can block a few messages. All of these settings are there. Make sure you explore them just one day and sit in. If you can clear it out, I think emailing then would become an easy job for you. With that, I'd like to conclude. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Suji, for your presentation. I think we have time for a few questions or clarifications. If anybody has something to ask, you're free to ask, or you can maybe write your questions in the chat box.
Thank you, Ruben Sylvester. Means a lot. Thank you.
How come students are silent? No questions.
Either my presentation was absolutely clear and you don't have questions, so
yeah. There's nothing in this world that will be like that. But actually, we are all up human beings. We are up and down. There's no problem, nothing wrong, but only the problem with the students. They don't want to interact.
There are messages in the chat box. So
chat box, they will write. They don't want to open their mouth. And we cannot get every time, and your in-persons actually they are available and they can easily ask the questions and get clarifications.
They are saying that their mics are deactivated. And if that is the case, please unmute their mic for just some time.
Oh, is it like that?
No, they have written like that.
Oh, maybe they're actually they all are muted, of course.
It's not that. That will come and all muted, but must be some device. I'll check from there.
Yeah, we just trying actually from the controlling system, try to unmute all that if there's a problem. It is not. Problem is they keep on talking, shouting this and that is actually disturbing the lecture. So that's actually from the centrally we actually muted everything. Now it is fine. Now everybody is operating. Yeah, students, you are ready for the question answer session.
Hi, madam.
Yes, very good.
And madam, you have talked about some of the business words to use. So can you give me some examples regarding the scenarios where we can effectively use the word instead of the other so as to make the communication more effective?
Are you asking for a list of words that you can use?
Just one or two practical examples.
Not sure what exactly. So you mean, okay, so the first example that I think I gave you was to use received in place of got, right? So in case if you want to start off your email was, I got your mail regarding this particular order. So instead of saying I got your mail, in case if you were to switch that and say, use the word received there, it'll sound a bit more better. Now say, I received your mail regarding this particular order. So it's just for you to, like I said, to sound a little bit more sophisticated and clearer that way. Another example that I could give you is in case if you are looking for some sort of an explanation from your recipient. So instead of just saying, tell me why you had to do this. So again, if you do that, it sounds that you're demanding a reply, and it sounds a little rude as well. So instead, if you could say, if you could give me an explanation, or it would be nice of you to explain. So instead of tell me why, if you can replace that with explain there, would sound a little bit more better. Does that answer your question?
Yes, madam. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, like I said, the books that I gave you in the references, they have a lot of these suggestions, a long list. I couldn't really put all of it into the presentation. Would be a good option to check them out. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, ma'am. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hi, ma'am. This is Syed. Actually, we need a presentation. Can we have?
Your voice is not audible here. A bit louder.
Hi, ma'am. This is Syed. Can we have the presentation copy so that we can able to?
Yeah, sure. I'll share it with Dr. Binu. Professor, would that be okay?
No, we'll be putting on the website. Don't worry, we'll do that.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. The information is very good, ma'am. Thank you for your presentation.
Automatically, all of course, not only the presentations, even the video also will be putting on that. It's all the lectures are recorded.
Okay. Actually, she has been presenting in some other websites, so that we hope that we have the presentations.
Sure, no problem. We'll do that.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes,
Ma'am, good morning. I have a question here.
Yes, please.
Yeah, ma'am, while giving your presentation, you were saying, like, when we address in the mail that we need to be very clear and simple and concise on our text and other thing, and short also, not to be in a very detail, because people wouldn't be having a more of time to read and all these things in a day of their schedule and other things. So there are cases like unavoidable circumstance where we need to be more explanative and more narrative in that. In such cases, what would you be suggesting for us in such occasions?
All right. In that case, long emails, as in I'm guessing you need to give more details, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, the details can be, say, bulleted. That would make your email a little more clearer for the people to read, whoever is reading it.
Okay.
As in bullet points, so that it's structured clearly and they know what they're exactly reading. Instead of giving them blocks and blocks and blocks of paragraphs, bullet points help.
So that would be an appropriate, ma'am?
Absolutely. Oh, yes. Okay. Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any more questions, please?
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah, I have one question. This is Prajwal. I have one question. Like you said that before sending a mail, you have to proofreading, like you have to read it properly. Like if we send something wrong example, so how can we rectify that wrong email? Like please ignore my previous email, or any suggestion how to rectify?
So that's what I said. If you can go into the Gmail settings and if you realize it before 30 seconds, well and good. You can undo your mail and you can always, make your changes, rectify it and mail it. But if it happens a little later, then the only way to do is please ignore my previous mail. This particular, I missed adding that in my previous mail. Sorry for the inconvenience caused. So as polite as possible with an apology would always work.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, madam.
Hello.
Hi, madam. I had one more doubt. It was regarding in what circumstances can we use the carbon copy and blind carbon copy? So in the blind carbon copy, the recipient may not be able to see the other to whom all that the particular email is being sent. So
Yes.
suppose especially for the official communication, suppose if a person is sending a mail and suppose the receiver is forwarding it the same mail using carbon copy. So whether the consent of the first sender has to be taken. This is for the official communication, especially for the official.
No, you mean to say if I've BCC'd it to somebody, are they allowed to reply? Is that what you're asking?
Suppose if one person is sending a mail to second person and the second person is forwarding the same mail using a carbon copy, CC copy. So, so whether it is mandatory, suppose from the normal logic, it is mandatory to take the permission of the first sender before sending the copy of whatever he has sent to the second person.
Okay, again, it largely depends upon the content of the email. If it's something that's going to be confidential, then you need to take the permission of the first person. But the fact that they've carbon copied it to you, it means that they are okay with you having that information, but you're still sending it to completely someone who's not there on your first list at all, right? So in that case, it's best it's partly your discretion and it's partly to do with the nature of the mail as well.
Okay, so what will happens in the official communication channel?
No, again, if it's official, it has to do whether it's confidential or not, right? So if it's something to do with a mail that can be viewed, that's meant to be viewed by only a few people, then it should be with only them. But otherwise, if it's a general mail that is giving you, say, probably an order that is passed by an institution or a government order that's being passed, now that can be circulated. Now that is no harm. So again, it depends on the nature of the mail is what I meant.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Hi, ma'am. This is Srinivas here.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So I work for an IT concern as a project manager. I receive a lot of mails some of the statements like, here I am sending you the attachment, or I'll revert back shortly, like that. Some of the words I come across. So what are the alternate words we can use instead of using revert back or here I am sending? So like that.
So one easy way to put it is to say, please find the attachment in this mail. One.
Yeah.
For the revert back business, I think you can also say, if you can get in touch with me regarding this, or if there's something you need to clarify, or put it in a different way. Again, see, since you're using, if you're working in a corporate sector, and if all the emails use these words, these phrases, you may have to make your change very slowly. Right? Because if that's the language everyone's used to, but if you still want to stand out, then make your changes, your new phrases as slowly as possible, but stick on to it. Don't keep going back and forth with reverting back, using that phrase, or going for something like, please get in touch with me. So whatever you're using, see if you can stick to it.
Yeah, thanks, ma'am. So I understand it. And how about using some of the mails I even receive with the oxymoron statements, like I clearly misunderstood, like that I get some of the statements with oxymoron. Is it good to use the oxymoron statements in the mail?
Oh, no. But you can't do anything if they send it to you. What you can do is, you can avoid it.
Yeah, I understand that, but no, I just want to, because some of the mails what I receive will always have this kind of statement. So even sometimes I get confused whether we can use such statements. That's why I just want to clarify.
The fact that it has already confused you says that you're not supposed to use it anyway. So keep that as a ready tip.
Yeah, okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the tip. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more, please?
Hello.
Hello. Yes, please.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, madam.
Hello.
The session is excellent. I am Very happy to listen to you.
Thank you.
Only one question from my side. Currently, the emojis. So generally, emojis allowed for official communications.
Okay, I actually wanted to talk about it. Thank you for bringing it up. So using emojis and emoticons. So again, that this particular TED Talk that I spoke to you about by Victoria Turk, she actually advises for emojis and emoticons. She says it's the best way to avoid confusion and it shows your emotions and it's nice. But again, in most of your official, if you ask me, that is. So if you want your mail to be more formal and if you want, I may be going a little too far in saying this, but if you want the other person to take you a little more seriously, then maybe emojis may not be the right option, especially if it's an entirely formal mail and in a business scenario, right? But again, there are people who are okay with it. Like I said, it still is a gamble. Like how your signature blocks, when you put a quote there and with fancy fonts and everything, there are people who like it and there are people who do not like it. Same goes with emojis and emoticons. It's best you avoid it, especially in emails, formal emails. But if your recipient, if you've received a mail from someone who's used it and they seem to be fine with it, and if you still so really badly want to follow it, and I think maybe you should. But personally, I'd say avoid.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah. Okay, there are 2 questions in the chat box. Can I take that, sir?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So first one is, what are the greetings we can use in a mail? And if we are sending late reply, how can we send a handle? All right. Greetings, like I said, the dear or the hello or the hi would work. Keep to these few options. Dear is again something that most people use. Otherwise, you can just put the name in if you do not want to use any of these handles. If you're sending a late reply, first apologize, right? Apologize and say, I'm sorry about sending you a late reply. I hope I've not caused any inconvenience. You don't really have to justify your stand. You don't really have to explain your situation unless and otherwise it's relevant. But then, like I said, start with an apology. That always works. I hope I've answered that question. The next question is, okay, I can't see that. Okay, what is an average word count limit to write an email? Again, depends on your situation, but somewhere between 100 and 150, I think itself is a lot. But again, it largely depends on your situation. Yeah. I think that's it, sir.
I think so.
Yeah, people are silent now. It looks...
Right.
Any more? The last question, please.
Okay, I have a final question. I think we can take this. Would it be okay if we address and start with dear Mr. or Miss to start an email? Again, depends on who you're sending it to. Given the fact that, see, some recipients are very clear about how they want to be. I'm talking in terms of gender. So some of them would want to be addressed in a neutral way. So in that case, you may have to put an MX or a, if you know, if they're okay with a Mr. or a Miss, if you're clear about that, then yes, there's no harm in that. But if you want to say, if you're not very sure of it, and if you want to be in the safe space, then just a dear and their surname would work. If you've not gotten to their first name on a first name basis, if you're not very familiar that way, then, or their entire name, their first name and their surname, that saves a lot of trouble, and it's a lot more safer as well. Yeah, I
think we can wind up.
Yeah.
No more.
Yeah. I think, sir said we can wind up. Just to sum up this session, Dr. Suji had started with a very brief history of emails. She spoke about its uses, the importance of keeping emails short, writing emails and the components involved here, like using active voice, avoiding nominalizations, and using business English. She also spoke about the different features of emails, the structure of an email, the importance of formatting emails, the etiquette to be followed while drafting an email, and also the 4-point plan where she spoke about the introduction, the details to be given, the response or action expected, and the conclusion. And the quizzes and the interactive sessions were also, I think, very useful for the participants. So thank you very much, Dr. Suji, for that wonderful session on emails. Even without the camera, you did not make it seem like a drawback, but we would really have wanted to see you. We hope that there will be opportunities for that in the future. So thank you once again for being a vital part of this workshop. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Madam, please share your PPT, so that will help. We'll convert into PDF and put onto the website, so that the people who actually missed the lecture, they'll be able to go through that. That will help them, of course.
Sure. Thank you, sir. And again, apologies about the camera. I didn't really.
It's okay. No problem. That's not an issue. That's
Thank you
not
for
a
having.
problem.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. We can start the next session, sir.
Yes, next, yes, you can start.
First person is also there. She has also joined.
Yes.
So we can begin that. So we had this first session on writing, and the focus was on emails. In the next session, the focus is on resume writing, something which is of much importance, especially in the business world, especially with regard to recruitment and all. It is something that we use where we are the products and we are advertising ourselves. Our resume talks a lot about us. You can say in absentia, we are not there often when somebody is reading our resume. So it's really something that is very vital. So in that sense, I'm really happy to introduce to all of you Ms. Angel Sebastian, who will be handling this session on resume writing. Ms. Angel Sebastian is also an assistant professor at the Department of English, Shift 2 at Stella Maris College in Chennai. Her areas of interest include literature and mysticism, post-humanism, poetry, literature and philosophy. She has a good number of research publications and paper presentations. She has participated in several workshops and faculty development programs related to research methodology, online teaching and e-content, translation studies, research ethics and research integrity, intellectual traditions and critical discourses, and teachers as researchers. She is also certified in content writing and blogging, and in exploring the world of English language teaching by Cambridge English Language Assessment. Along with her duties and responsibilities of handling classes related to language and literature in the Department of English, she is also the internal quality assurance cell coordinator with regard to her department, and also the remedial coaching program coordinator and soft skills coordinator there. So without any further delay, let me welcome Ms. Angel Sebastian to our e-workshop and request her to handle this session on resume writing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the invite, and thank you to all the coordinating committee for inviting me for the session. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you are audible. You are audible.
So, okay, I would like to start the session using Mentimeter. So I'll share my tab.
So this is most important to all the students, and you need to actually, with the examples, when they are going for this kind of job, how do they actually address? They're going to the different one, levels, professions, the companies, varieties, so that if you give some kind of flavor, they will be able to get actually the crux of that.
Yes. Okay, could you please join this code by going to menti.com? You can also click on this link. Okay, 23 of you have joined so far. Wait for a few more seconds.
Ma'am, code number, please. What's the code number? Okay, yeah, got it.
Got it? Thank you. Okay, have you managed to join? Are you trying?
Yes.
Okay. So I would like to know, okay, choose one that is most applicable to you here. Okay, so some of you are currently employed, some of you are looking forward to get employed. So with that, we'll move to the next question. Click on 1. Have you ever created a resume? All right, 51 so far, and majority have created a resume. So with that information, I would like to begin the actual presentation. So please keep this tab open. We'll come back to this after some time. Okay, before going into what is a resume, we are going to start by looking at why do we need one, or why do you need one. So this is why we need a resume. So the most important factor is that it is a communication tool with the employer. So I've titled the title of the workshop is Communicating to the Employer, Resume Writing. So often, or most times, this is the first point of contact with the employer in most cases. So it is with a resume that you contact your employer for the first time. So first impression is the best impression, right? So and a resume communicates information regarding different things. So one is who you are, what you can do, whether to interview you, whether they need you. So all these factors are coming into the employer's notice through your resume. So this is why you need one. Now, what is a resume and what goes into a resume? So let's look at what it's not to understand what it is. It is not your autobiography. It is not your complete obituary. Rather, it is a document stating your professional credentials. You might all know this. It should state your professional credentials, and its purpose is not to obtain a job. Some of you might think that it is to obtain a job, but it is not to obtain a job. Rather, it is to obtain an interview. So it is through your interview that you, your performance at the interview, that you get the job. So keep that in mind. I hope that's clear. Now, before we move on to the next slide, can you type in the chat box or switch on your audio and answer this question? What do you think is the ideal length of a resume? How long should it be?
1 page.
1 page. 2 pages, ma'am.
Minimum 1 page.
Sorry?
1 page.
Yes, you have got
Maximum
it, right?
2, ma'am.
Okay, maximum 2. Okay, yeah. So I moved on to the next slide. So the ideal length of a resume, typically it should be covered in 1 page. Typically, it can go up to 2 pages depending on your professional field and also the work experience. If you have experience for more than 10 to 15 years, you can, the resume can go up to 2 pages. But typically it should be covered in 1 page. Remember, it's only your professional credentials that you're going to include in your resume. Now, before we move on to the next slide, another question. How long do you think an employer would take to select a resume? So the employer gets, multitude of resumes, application letters. So how long do you think the employer would take to select one? How long would you think the employer would glance through the resume to pick it or drop it?
40 seconds max, ma'am.
Sorry?
40 seconds, ma'am. Max.
Okay, 40 seconds. Any other answers? I'm not able to view the chat.
Half an hour, ma'am.
Half an hour. Okay, half an hour.
Based on the employer experience.
Based on the experience, is that what you said? No, I want to, like, in seconds or minutes or hours.
And hardly 5 minutes, like, because
5
we have to see many other resumes as well. So hardly they will scan with the keywords.
Okay. So, can I give the answer now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So this is called the 20 seconds rule. So if you haven't presented the most important information about yourself in the top half of the first page of your resume, you can probably forget about getting the job. This is what personal directors of America's top corporations have said. And they said that this person, Washington DC, she from Washington DC, she has said that she allows 20 seconds to scan each resume she receives. So on an average, the scanning of resumes tends to be from 15 to 30 seconds. That's all that your employer looks at when your resume is sent. So most of the important information, it's not even keywords, it should be at the top half of the first page of your resume. The most important and unique information about you should be in that page. So now that you know the length of the resume, how long it should be, and the time that the employer takes to glance through it. Now we will look into what goes into the resume. What are the necessary parts of a resume? So I asked those questions in the beginning to know if you were familiar with creating resumes. So I will be giving you the necessary guidelines, the absolutely necessary guidelines, and certain effective tips that you can use when you write your resume. And depending on your experience, depending on the needs of your employer, you will have to make certain tweaks and changes. So before going into that, I'd like to share a drive link which has all the sample materials and checklists which you can refer to as and when I'm giving the points. So here is the drive link. Could you please tell me if it's accessible? You're able to open?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So in this link, you will have all the references which will be pointed out during the presentation. So now we will be looking at different parts of the resume. So we are starting with the first part, which is identification. Okay, so identification is the first part, the top part of the resume, where you include your name, your address, your telephone numbers, home number and cell phone numbers, and also your email address. So make sure the employer can reach you or can leave a message easily. That is the idea behind giving this information. So you can also provide your photograph. It's optional. If it's necessary, you can provide that too. Now, certain tips when it comes to writing this part. You need to include area codes with all telephone numbers because it will be helpful for the employer. And one important factor about email addresses. So make sure your email address is not offensive, it's not unprofessional or cutesy. Some of us who have created email addresses when we were young tend to make it seem cute and informal and all that. So make sure it's not offensive. Examples of unprofessional email IDs are given here. So Hemant for you, Ria in Wonderland. So make sure your email address is professional. The second part of the resume is the objective. So objective talks about or should tell the employer what you can contribute to the organization or the value you will add to the organization. It shouldn't really talk about what you can gain from the organization. Yeah, that is a common mistake that we make. So it shouldn't talk about what you can gain, or you can talk about that by giving prime importance to what you can contribute. So you can start by saying what you can contribute and also mention by not really putting it out there what experience or the improvement that you can gain. But the prime focus should be on what you can contribute. And this objective should be well supported and proven by your resume. So this is an important point to note here. In a resume, having an objective is optional. You need not always have the objective written out there or objective as a separate part written out there. It is optional. We'll see why. So it is not mandatory to have an objective, but if you have one, it should tell about what you can contribute. So sample objectives, one weak objective and one strong one. So weak objective here, if you look at it, it says management position which will use my business administration degree and will provide opportunities for rapid advancement and annual salary increases. That is not the correct way to give your objective, or even if you have that as a goal in your mind, that shouldn't come as your objective, because the employer, you want to convince your employer to take you in. So the employer should, the focus should be on the need of the employer. So the vision and mission of the institution or organization can be referred to here when you're looking at the objective, because they will have what they need as an institution. So most of the websites will have vision and mission, right? So you can refer to that. Here is a strong objective. A position in data analysis where skills in mathematics, computer programming, and deductive reasoning will contribute to new systems development. So here, the objective talks about certain skill sets that the prospective employee is presenting, and is relating those skill sets with the contribution that he or she can make in the new systems of development. So tips to write objective. It should be as short as possible. As short as possible. Avoid these phrases: challenging position, utilizing my skills, growth potential, room for advancement. So all that which is actually talking about what you are gaining or how you are going to perform. It should be based on, it shouldn't be vague as well. It shouldn't be, it shouldn't just say utilizing my skills. You need to specify what skills do you have in relation to the specific job title. So I'll be giving you a list of skills as well. You will have it already in the Drive link. So always use the employer's job title for that position. So when you're writing the objective, make sure that whatever the employer is in need for, that particular job title, say for example, assistant professor, associate professor. So there is a difference in the title, although both are considered to be lecturers. So use the employer's job title for that position. And if you're not writing an objective, I already told you objective is optional. So if you're not writing one, use a summary statement instead. So we'll be going on to that now. So this is the third part of your resume, which is showcasing. This is where you give a summary statement, and also you can add your qualifications. So this is where you showcase yourself, showcase your accomplishments, showcase your skills, and showcase your experience in the related field. So in as a replacement to, or as an addition to objective also, sometimes you can give this summary statement. So what is a summary statement? It is a summary of your credentials in sentence or paragraph form. So if you do not have a clear, aim in mind to, or if you do not know how well or how you can contribute to that in that particular space, you can summarize your credentials in sentence or paragraph form. So this is how you do it. Look at these examples. So over 10 years of successful experience providing professional customer service. So it clearly, concisely summarizes the professional credentials, right? And proven ability to effectively handle difficult situations, highly motivated, creative. So these are ways in which you can summarize your credentials, and you can replace this with, or rather the objective with this kind of a summary statement.
Angel, I'm sorry to interrupt. Your slide is stuck in identification, 6th slide.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the identification slide, the objective slide.
After the first slide, slides were not moving.
Is it moving now, sir?
No, now we are seeing the tips.
Yes. Showcasing?
No, nothing. We have now what we are seeing is the tips. Identification.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's moving. Yeah, now forecast.
Are you able to see the 11th slide?
Showcasing. Showcasing is the slide which we are seeing.
Yes, thank you. Okay, if you have any doubts regarding what I just said, please ask in the maybe in the question answer session so that I can clarify. Are you able to see the slides now?
Yeah, showcase.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay. So we were at. Okay. So we were looking at summary statements. And now we are moving on to qualification. So two sections under showcasing is the summary statement and also the qualifications. So this section appears in your resume to highlight and summarize your areas of expertise. So and your credentials. So you can include your work history, your education, your strengths or self-management skills under this section. So examples, certain examples here. Recently completed my BS degree in mechanical engineering, programming experience in Java, CTT and HTML, fluent in Spanish and German. So these are ways in which you can include them. So I've also shared the sample resumes with you, so you can take a look at how this particular section is communicated there as well. Certain tips when you write qualifications. You need to put strong statements at the beginning of your resume, and the most important information should come first. So this is something that you might already know. The most important information should come first. I hope you are able to see the qualification slide, tips on qualifications.
No, it is still in showcasing only. Summary statement and qualification.
Oh, thank you. There is some problem. Let me try to rectify it. Are you able to see the slide?
Yes, now it's
Please.
tips and qualifications.
Okay, sir. Please let me know if the slide is moving after this. Okay, so put strong statements at the beginning of your resume. The most important information should come first. So whatever is the most important should come first. And please do not use the word I in any part of your resume. That is, use the passive form. Put all your sentences in the passive form. Do not use the word I in your resume. Has a slide moved?
No.
No. Okay, maybe.
Yeah, now.
Yes, it start moving.
Angel?
Yes.
Try presenting your entire screen instead of window. Might help.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay. So, as part of showcasing, you can showcase, or you should showcase your accomplishments. So when it comes to showcasing accomplishments, it is a challenging task because most of us don't brag in our daily lives or on a daily basis. So however, to successfully communicate your skills to the employer, you will have to sell yourself. You need to learn how to sell yourself. So you need to take some time and list all of your accomplishments, because your resume is your advertisement. It is a tool by which you are advertising. It is an advertising tool by which you are promoting your most wanted, skills to the employer, and make sure that it gives a positive professional impression. So you can look at the list of skills that have been uploaded in the drive. So can you all please take a look at it? Please go to the drive link and take a look at the list of skills. And from those skills, find out one skill, the most needed skill that you would need for your dream job. So once you have done that, go to Mentimeter once again. This was the link. Go to Mentimeter. And answer this question. What do you think is one professional skill that you should possess for your dream job? Writing, mentoring, quizzing, negotiating, commitment. So it's not something that you can do overnight. You need time to make a list of your accomplishments and start now, but come back to it later when you have thought of more things, and draw on all your experiences, whether it was paid, whether it was recognized, whether it was validated by a certificate, whether it was unpaid, whether it was a volunteering work or work at from home. So all that you should be accounted. So go through all those experiences and list your accomplishments, and also list the skills. All right, we have got several skills. Yeah, it's still moving. So we'll move on to the next part. Thank you all for responding, but take your time, okay? Yeah, so this is because the employer doesn't know your capabilities, why you should list your accomplishments and you should present it in the most convincing manner. It is because the employer doesn't know your capabilities. So your job is to educate him or her on what you can bring to the position. So here are certain examples. So if you look at it, successfully managed 35 lakh accounts receivables and reduced delinquent accounts by 15%, trained over 100 staff members in CPR and first aid procedures, developed 35 new accounts while maintaining 60 existing accounts. So how precise it should be, and how specific it should be, and how detailed it should be. It is revealed through these examples. So if you go back and look at these examples, there are certain action words that are used, right? So action words should be supported, or rather skills should be supported by using action words. So it is verbs that describe what you have done. So in order to describe what you have done, and then also in order to communicate that all the skills that you possess have been put into action, you need action words. So a list of that has also been provided. So please go through the action words so you can connect your skills. You can pick out the skills, connect the skills with these action words, and put them together to form your qualification, to put it under your qualification. So fifth part of your resume is the education. So education, under that you can list any training specific to the job desired, your university or college education experience. You need to note the major fields of study. So your bachelor's degree or your master's degree, you need to note the major fields. This is also important. You need to ensure that the most recent education comes first. You might know this, and include education in reverse chronological order. So how far you should go. Yeah, that'll come in the next slide, I think. So note postgraduate and special training courses or seminars apart from your college or university education. Cite special job related skills. Again, you can refer to the list of skills. Are you a new graduate with little work experience? If you are, then you need to first talk about your educational background and then about your work experience. So if you are a fresher, you need to first talk about your educational background with specific reference to the field or the papers or the courses that you have done in relation to the job title, And then you can talk about little work experience that you had. So example, Pondicherry University, a central university, Puducherry, India, program of study, degree received, and date. So date, if it's within the last 5 years, it's enough to mention the date. Certain tips on education. Dates are not mandatory. It's not compulsory that you should mention your dates unless and until the employer needs it, or the employer needs to verify your details. And omit high school if it's not demanded. So you need not really put in your high school education details if it's not demanded. And you have something called the major GPA and also the overall GPA. So major GPA, which is your field related or subject related, and overall GPA that comes along with all the other courses, elective courses and other soft skills and all that you might have done as part of the course. So include your overall GPA at all instances. If your major GPA, subject related, subject oriented GPA is higher than your overall GPA, then include that in the resume. So you need to mention that it is your major GPA in your brackets. Okay, you need to indicate that. Next part in your resume is your employment history. So this is where you will include your job titles, places and dates of employment and job responsibilities that you had over the years. So you may separate your experience into that for which you were paid and experience for which you were not paid. So as I said earlier, when you have to list out your accomplishments, you need to look at all the experience that you have had so far. So you can separate, you may separate, but remember, however, that each experience is valuable, even if you were not paid to do it. So include them no matter what, okay? So with the COVID-19 situation, there might have been times when you had to take a break or you have been laid off. So it is advised that you include that in your resume. It's okay to say this in your resume if you had lapse or certain pauses in your work area because of COVID-19. So you can use these terms to mention that. So say company closed or contract position or downsizing due to COVID-19. This is especially because there are, employers are wary of so-called job hoppers who, keep on changing jobs. So in order to show that you didn't really have an option and it was because of some other external factors, in this case maybe like COVID-19, you can use these phrases and it's okay to use that in your resume. Certain tips when you write your employment history: don't go back to more than 10 to 15 years. Don't list supervisor contact information. You need not because it belongs to a separate reference page. We'll be coming into that next. So after you have written all these information like identification, objectives, showcasing, summary statement, qualification, education, and employment history, there are certain additional information that you can add. So what you should add and what you should omit. So include such things as business, professional, social or civic affiliations, honors and awards that you have got, military service. So any extra additional achievements that you have had, make sure you include them. And also omit all personal information, including marital status, age, state of health, etc. So this is when it comes to resume, right? So omit all of these information, personal information. So here are certain resume bloopers which were collected by Robert Huff, who is a founder of a California-based persona service. So he had collected resumes over a period of time, and all the mistakes that he had come across, he had collected them and put it into a file. So it is very interesting to note this, and he has an advice for all who are seeking employment, who are writing resumes based on all that he had collected. So, as you can see, it'll be nice if one of you can just read it. Are you able to view? Are you able to view the screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. All right, I don't think anybody is reading. So I'll pick out a few here. See, the second one, it says education, college, August 1880 to May 1984. And he has put a comment, must have been a tough curriculum because it's running for so many years. And look at this one, strengths, ability to meet deadlines while maintaining composure. So instead of composure, the person has written composer. So he has a funny comment. Would that be Mozart or Beethoven? Education in BA in liberal arts instead of liberal arts. Look at this one. Personal, married 20 years, own a home along with a friendly mortgage company. So as if it is for a matrimonial site. Okay, so there's one more. Look at this one. Work experience, responsibilities included checking customers out. And then did he rank them on a scale of 1 to 10? So these are the kind of mistakes that he had collected. And which brings us to the most important advice that anyone would give on resume writing. No, never. Make sure your resume don't have mistakes. So read it, edit it as many times as possible to make sure that it doesn't have any mistakes. Now you have written so far, you have given details by yourselves. Your details by yourself so far. Now it is details that people who know you should give. So when you look at this reference page, there are certain things to keep in mind. Okay, why have them? Why have references? It might be because they know people who can help. These, your references know people who can help. People who are evaluating your candidacy may know them. Also, these references that you get will indicate the breadth of your experiences in a short and crisper form, and also it will also indicate your professional, academic, and personal areas. So, and it is also a third person's point of view. It is not just your view. So that makes it even more convincing. So you might know this, you can have a reference page. So ideally, this is a separate page from your resume and your cover letter. And this page should be included with any application material you submit. That is your the reference letters that you attach. So ask your references when you find people who can refer you. First of all, ask your references if they feel comfortable being your reference. Give your references copies of your resume as well as a description of the job you're applying for, because they are doing you a favor. So help them with these details. And please do not forget this. Thank your references. That's very important. So now, whom should you approach for referring you? So you can include current practitioners, as in people who are working in the same area that you are applying to, who can recommend you. You can also include people from your academic backgrounds, as in your professors, who would know what your academic credentials are and who know you personally as well. Then work from your workplace, if your higher authorities can recommend you, or personal here refers to all these other areas, other people who can refer you, who can also talk about your personal aspects in relation to the job title. And who you should not include: relatives or parents, brothers, sisters, so people who don't know you. So certain times, if you tend to look for people who are, current practitioners, but who really don't know you, that is again a no. And big name people who you don't know, so you shouldn't include them. Now, there are two basic resume formats. You will get a lot of templates on the internet, but there are two basic formats when you write a resume. One is the chronological format. So this is for people. This is good for people with extensive work experience. So this work and educational experience can be listed out in the chronological order, in the reverse chronological order. So this is one way in which you write resumes, one format. The other one is a combination one, and this is good for people who are career changers and who had gaps with employment. And in this kind of a format, you will have to combine both your skill sets, and you can have a chronological listing. So which is why it is called a combination format, because you can equally look at or emphasize on your skills as well as your limited or rather changing career experience. Now, I'd like to hint at covering letter, because a resume is always accompanied by a covering letter. Not much into it. I've already uploaded the sample covering letter. You can look into that. So the purpose of a covering letter is important. It is to introduce you to an employer, give them a frame of reference, and also to provide a sample of your writing ability. Writing a covering letter is even more challenging than writing a resume, because it should show your writing skills much more than in a resume. And some employers focus, why covering letter is also important, it's because some employers focus on the covering letter while others focus on the resume. So it happens either way. So make sure that you invest time in developing both. Now, this is one way in which you can set yourself apart from 99% of job seekers out there: giving a thank you letter. So it is one of the most important yet least used tools in a job search. And the purpose of thank you letter is to establish goodwill. It is to express appreciation or to strengthen your candidacy. So ideally, after your interview, so you have written your resume, you have sent it along with your covering letter, you have been called for an interview. After employment interviews, thank you letters should be sent within 24 hours of each contact to all of the people you have come in contact with, as in all the people who were part of the interviews, or the people who have contacted you, sent you invitations to attend the interview. So thank you letter should be sent within 24 hours. Also be sure to send thank you letters to individuals who granted you information on interviews and to people who provided references for you. So this is a very effective tool. Set yourselves apart. So to be more familiar with that thank you letter, you can make it brief. It should be a brief letter. Again, I've sent you a sample letter. You can refer that. If you have a personal relationship with the person, you can send a handwritten thank you note card. You can note the date of your interview so that the interviewer would, or the recipient would remember you when you mention the date. You can also highlight a key point from the interview. So if there is something that was the highlight of your interview, you can mention that so that the recipient would remember you. You can even restate your strong interest if you have one. Highlight your qualifications once again. And be specific about why you are interested in the organization, again in your thank you letter. So it is kind of a way in which you can restate your interest and emphasize on how you are a good fit for the organization. You can also thank everyone with whom you interviewed. And lastly, send one even if you don't want the job. So after the interview, if you feel like, okay, I do not want this job, or if you got some other opportunity and you would want to shift, send one, because you never know when you will meet the person again. So it is a good gesture. So with that, we have covered all the different parts of a resume. And all the material which I've referred to, and also which I've certain checklists for you for resume and for covering letter have all been uploaded here. So please feel free. This link is always available. So please come back to this whenever you feel it's necessary. So with that, I'd like to end the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Angel. Participants, if you have any questions, you can ask the questions now, or you may type it in the chat box.
Dear students, this is the time for the question answers. This is the most important of the entire workshop. End of it, if you are not able to make your CV, it is waste. So make sure actually you have all the clarity and you will be able to do your CV excellently.
Hello ma'am, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Someshwari.
Hi.
Actually, I have a query. So as a fresher, as a fresher student, they don't have any experience, right? So
Yes.
instead of experience, which we mentioned in the resume, so what kind of things we can add into our resume to get it is more effective to the interviewer? So for example, we can add as a project details, right? So while we are in the final year of graduation, so students can add